But it was the principle of the thing. You can get it a lot cheaper here, here, or here, I suggested. Yes, he replied. But then I would have to get up off my arse and do something instead of just reaching for the phone. I ought to buy it for him at a cheaper location and then sell it on to him to split the difference. But he was having none of it. He explained he had earned his money so he could stay on the sofa and leave a phone and have the world brought to him, delivered with a minimum of effort. That was what he thought great wealth was all about. And now, unlike my friend, the sensible rich don't just throw money away because they can instead. They always get at least 3 quotes for work being done and don't just accept the first quote they get. Shop around to make sure they are not wasting their money, are cautious about spending it. They have hard work too and hard for their money. They're not miserably just cautious and selective and discriminating. There is an old Russian saying that spending is a quick for but earning long. That's true. We can offload the work of here in a few moments. We have to be prudent when it comes to spending, not to deny ourselves anything. God forbid I should recommend that. But instead, just be a bit cautious and don't go throwing money away needlessly. I think wise spending is something we should be teaching our kids from a very early age. They are all too often persuaded by advertising that if something is brightly colored, noisy, messy, or in some way repugnant to parents, it must be a good thing, and they rush home and strip off all those wrappings, and disappointment sets in so very quickly. Teach them young. As for you, time to discover for yourself the joy of getting value for money in everything you buy, if you haven't already. The internet makes it all terribly easy to compare prices and shop around and make sure you are not paying more than you have to for anything. Use it. Rule number 3093. Never borrow money from friends or family, but you can allow them to invest. I think we might need to have a quick recap of what friends and family are there for, and what you are there for them as well. Friends are for caring, loving, supporting, nurturing, helping, advising and getting advice from, comforting, having fun with, sharing, and nowhere in that lot does it mention borrowing from, stealing from, conning. Put simply, it is a very bad manners to borrow from friends and family. It sets up too many issues and agendas, it causes resentment and recriminations, suspicion, it jeopardizes relationships that are important. Don't do it. Besides, which friends and family are not proper sources of loans because they are not licensed for it. I'm not talking here of the odd favor to get a round of drinks in but significantly large amount. How much that is will depend on your circumstances. You do need to be licensed to be a credit broker. No, seriously. And if you borrow from friends or can firstly lend to the same, you have no legal resources. If it all goes wrong, and it will, as sure as eggs is eggs. I know technically you could get proper agreement drawn up and all that, but even then, even if they are charging you the proper interest rates, is it dangerous? If you fail to pay them back due to circumstances beyond your control, you risk losing the friendship, which of course would mean much more to you than the loan would in the first place. The only exception to this is if family and friends want to invest in, say, a business you are starting and they fully understand that, like any investment, they may not see a return and all the usual risk apply. What you can afford is for it to cause a real if things don't work out. Family and friends are too important for that. It's very bad manners to borrow from friends and family. Rule number 94. Don't surrender equity. This is a rule for anybody who runs a company or who is a freelance and is thinking of setting themselves up a sole trader business. Essentially, the point is not to give away bits of your company. The aim of the exercise is to preserve wealth, so don't surrender equity, shares, or a stake in your company, or you will be paying someone a share of your hard work, time, and energy. Better to give them money, even if it is with interest, rather than a share of you. In a later rule on spending your money, I will tell you to ask for equity, but that's different. That's you as lender of money, and the shoe is on the other bank account then. So different rules apply. There is a misconception that having total control of one's business is a bad thing, and many business advisors will advocate giving away equity as a good thing. But I have noticed that the really successful wealthy don't do this. They hang on to every bit they have got. They may borrow and take out loans and run up overdraft, but they don't give away equity. Advisors will suggest steering clear of a bank loan because the bank can close down your business so quickly. A business angel will lend money instead of, but they will demand equity. If you do have to surrender equity, then make sure you swap it for business skills and acumen, hands-on directorship, a freedom from hassle agreement so you can run the business the way you want, a realistic percentage so you don't give away too much, a buyback clause so you can buy back the equity for cash at a later stage when you are cash rich. I run a company and have some shareholder, but the shares they hold don't give them voting rights. So although they don't get the same equity, they don't get control, and in fact the shares were given as a reward for advice rather than money borrowed. Only take money into your business from people you have experience of your business and understand its ebbs and flows and industry related problems, and remember, never give voting shares away to anyone. Never give voting shares away to anyone. Rule number 95. Know when to stop. What? I can hear a gasp of surprise. Know when to stop? Didn't you say earlier that you shouldn't rest on your laurels or they will build? Yes, I did. But that was when you were starting to get results, not when you have done really well and were wealthier than you thought you ever would be. Look, there has to come a time when enough is enough. There has to come a time when you want to spend more time with your family, enjoy your life, have fun, go traveling, get the work-life balance, trip a bit in favor of the life. Use your time to pass on what you have learned to others. Of course, you might be able to do all of this without giving up the gaining wealth ideal, but it is the focus that stops perhaps. Being driven to gain prosperity is a good thing, but once gained, you should return to the fold, so to speak. I'm always impressed by people like Bill Gates who decided to return from his work to run his charitable foundation. In his case, he probably didn't need and couldn't spend or count any more money than he already had or has, and it's probably accumulating faster each day than he can count. He is probably living on the interest, on the interest, on the interest, on the interest. And I see Warren Buffett is doing the same. I actually contributing to Bill's foundation. I know these boys are playing around with sums well into billion, but their heart are in the right place. This sort of people are where this rule comes from. Others doing the same include Thomas Monaghan, the Domino's Pizza founder, who is reputed to have given away over $1 billion and founded Ave Maria University. You are thinking then that you are not anywhere in the same league, but you can still have an end game strategy whereby you build enough is enough, close into your plan. Otherwise, where do you stop? How much is enough? Where do you draw the line? There is an Arab saying, if you have much, give of your wealth. If you have a little, give of your heart. So when you get a lot, give some money it away, give some of it away. We will speak more of this in a moment. I'm not going to browbeat you but about giving to charity, but I'm suggesting that knowing when you have got enough money is important. I know there is an expression that you can have too much of a good thing, but focusing on prosperity is only one part of a rich and varied life, and you can be too dedicated. Sharing your wealth. Once you have worked hard to earn it, it doesn't seem a bit unfair to share it. But if you don't, you run the risk of your hard-working, outstretched hand turning into an arthritic, grasping claw. Money can be earned, grown, guarded, fought over, used well, used badly, won, lost, buried, invested, given away, bought back, exchanged, and divided up. But the nicest thing to do with it is surely to share it. I'm not talking to Here, I'm talking sharing because sharing is a kind of thing to do. I won't buy you a ticket to heaven, but it will help others. I know you have worked hard, grafted, burned the midnight oil to get to where you are today, and why should you give money away to those who are lazy? Or let's focus on indulgent or plain liberty takers. Yeah, good point. But I'm talking here about the less well of the unfortunate, the weak, the needy, and the deserving. Wealth is a bit like a beautiful painting. Sure, you can hang it in your study and only you get to look at it, but you can also share it and let others look as well. But you will say, oh, well, this decreases if we share it. Does it? Does it really adopt it somehow? I think for every penny you give away to or share with someone else less able to gain prosperity, you double its value. Maybe not in hard cash, but in other ways. As I say, I don't want to browbeat you. I have noticed that the really successful, happy, rich people do feel at ease sharing their wealth, and that is a lesson for all of us. Rule number 96. Use your wealth wisely. I read of a nice couple of the other day, both rock musicians, who had bought a big house in the countryside in Oxfordshire or some other home country with a nice acreage and were settling down to raise the kids, and I thought that what a good investment as it provides a stable place to bring up kids, a sound investment in the long term, a nice place to live in a sense of peace and quiet with no city pollution, a friendly place for the children to grow up with the neighbors looking out for them, a son of investment in history and heritage. On the other hand, I read in the same paper of a Asian model who was in the news a lot because of her drug habit, an expensive habit, I have no doubt. I guess you can see where my interests lie from. These two snippets gleaned from the newspaper. One is a sound and a wise investment, and the other is just self-indulgent trouble that lends nothing to the wisdom of wealth. I'm not a party proper, but I have noticed that those who handle the wealth sensibly and share it and are generous with their time and money get back a whole lot of more than those who squander, misuse, indulge, and generally behave as if their wealth gives them a license to show off. Enough moralizing and preaching. I did promise not to, but these are genuine observations, and I'm sure you have made similar observation yourself. And those who abuse their wealth don't tend to stay wealthy for long. Here are a few questions regarding our wealth and how wisely we might handle it. Why did we get wealthy in the first place? What is the best use of wealth? And what are our long-term goals and expectations for our wealth? And what do we think our wealth will bring us? What could we do with our wealth that would be beneficial to others? What sort of world do we want? How do we and our wealth wish to be seen? What will they say about us after we have gone? And what legacy will we leave behind? Those who abuse their wealth don't tend to stay wealthy for long. I personally think the best use of wealth is to teach children how to earn it, invest it, save it, and spend it wisely. As we all get more and more affluent, there is a real need to introduce some element of monetary discussion into this curriculum. Children need to learn about tax, insurance, and spending, and all the stuff we never got taught and have had to learn the hard way as we went along. Mind you, I would also make sure every child could read and write before they left school and could drive a car. Rule number 97. Never lend money to friends or family unless you are prepared to write it off. Can you share your wealth with family and friends? Yes, but if you want to retain your sanity, I would strongly suggest you don't lend anyone any money unless mentally you are prepared to write it off. That way, when they don't repay you, and I bet they won't, you will feel just fine about it. If you expect them to repay you and they don't, imagine how hard and let down you are going to feel. I know I have sons, but my money is for them as much as it is for me, so we play this game in them of them asking for a loan and me giving it to them. Sometimes they pay it back and I'm pleasantly surprised, but sometimes they don't and I write it off, and that's fine too. I really hope they don't read this, or I will be concerned like a rat in my own home. I value them in their relationship with me, and I wouldn't want to fail out with them over something as quality as money. when there are so many better things to fall out with them over anyway. If you do lend money to friends and don't get it back, you lose more than just the money, you lose the friendship as well. They feel embarrassed because they're not repaying you and thus don't come around to see you. You feel grieved and don't invite them because of it. Results end of friendship. Write it off tough and you will still be happy to see them, and they will quickly forget the embarrassment and regard you as one of a kind. Of course, you don't have to do either. You can just say no, or you could just give the money. I have been reading an advice blog on the web about a young man who lent his roommate a college $350, not a huge amount, but the repayment never materialized. He had asked various friends first if they had ever lent his roommate money, and they said he had paid them back. Now he has of course fallen out a big time with his roommate, despite offering him the option of repayment term a $50 a month. Worse still, he has fallen out with all of his other friends because they approved the loan in his eyes. The advice was to take the friend to court, but I figure he wants to see the money anyway and will cap a lot of legal expense into the bargain. Better to chalk it up to experience and walk away whistling. I know for him it is a lot of money, but and it is an education, does not come cheap. The discussion did go on into his right to seize his roommate's possession, and etc. I still say walk away whistling and don't ever do it again. Rule number 98: don't lend, take equities. If you are asked for a loan by somebody for a specific project such as starting a company or spending one, there are a variety of answers including no, yes, yes but, yes on the condition that, yes with equity, yes with a convertible loan. Obviously, no can cause offense. Yes is a no-no, if you see what I mean. Lending money to friends and family is not unless you are prepared to write it off. And generally, people who want to be clones are not that close, or they would know you better. This leaves us with the last three conditions: equity or convertible. There may be others, of course. Conditions: a max game if you ask me, on the condition you repay me when you have made your fortune. And the condition you don't do anything silly with his. On the condition you only use this for the good of mankind. Condition is such a tricky one, but there are many who will ask for conditions. If you would just be so good as to lend me this, I promise to blah 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 blah. Yeah, right. Equity. Better you don't lend. You offer to buy a share in whatever project it is. If it is successful, you recoup with the interest. If it fails, you shouldn't have been lending or buying into it in the first place. More fool you. The trouble with equity is that it's often black and white, hit or miss. You get your money back if the project is successful, and perhaps they should be when the project is successful. Convertible. Much better you lend as a proper loan with the repayment detail all work out legally, so it is a binding loan. But if the project is successful, it should be, or you shouldn't be lending in the first place. You convert the loan into equity. This way, you get to your money back plus a big share of the profit. It sort of makes lending seem worthwhile. If approached for a loan, asking for a convertible loan will shut the wheat from the chaff, the serious from the not so serious. It makes the serious stand up and be counted. If the project then fails, you get your money back. In the theory, at least. Obviously, if the project fails, there may not be any money, but you will have secured it against their property, of course. I even do this with my children if tempted to lend them any money for big items like cars and houses. And yes, you can have the money, but I want to own a share, so you can't sell it if you get bored or restless or whatever without my permission. Amazing how often they back off when they know I will be their partner, and I also then know that they did but the item rather than something they would rather not tell me about. Asking for a convertible loan will short the wheat from the chaff. Rule number 99: you really can't take it with you. I know there is a saying, whoever has the most toys at the end wins, but you really cannot take it with you, and you can't buy anything with it when you go. No tickets into heaven, no indulgence, no get out of hell free cards. When you go alone and with nothing. just as you came in. So all that effort in a way is wasted, unless of course you did something useful with it when you had the ability to do it. Left drooling in a sham of fog, home is not the time nor places to start being philanthropic, is it? Not getting rid of it, it's known as a wealthy bondage, being tied so tightly to your money and that you really don't try to take it with you, and that really is kinky. Sure, you can leave it to your kids, but you should have given most of it away long before you pop your clogs, or you will be leaving a massive tax liability for someone down the line. Whatever you decide to do take the proper advice. Nothing grieves so much as a poorly thought out will and lots of tax after you have gone. You can of course insure against tax liability after you have gone. You have to calculate what you think your tax liability is likely to be and then set up a whole lot of life insurance policy to cover it. But the policy has to be written into trust to ensure the proceeds from the policy are not included with your estate. But for heaven's sake, be careful of placing anything in the trust, because if you use the wrong one, you can make things even worse. Gosh, I'm not a financial advisor. Except up on a behavioral level, you need somebody else. For the nitty-gritty, which investment is the best for me detail. But it seems to make sense to have all this tied up before you go. And of course, you can leave the lot of to your spouse, and then they don't have to pay the duties. But by golly, their tax bill is going to be high when they go. So you are only delaying rather than offsetting. Although the effect of this is reduced in the UK by the ability to claim a decreased spouse's unused nil rate bond. Alternatively, you can establish a trust to ensure that both husband and wife nil rate bands are fully utilized. But again, be very careful using a trust. I was reading about the Dalai Lama's wealth the other day. He gets paid the equivalent around 38p a day expenses onto robes and one in the wash, and his only indulgence is a new watch strap every now and then. I did wonder if he bought leather once, and yet he is the head of an entire country, albeit in exile. I know that is cool in my book. Rule number 100: know when or how to say no and yes. And now you have made some money, you will be those who see you as a target, easy picking, owing them something. After all, they have known you for years. Worth taking a chance on, you never know. A genuine source of a low interest loan, a free gift, and so much easier than preparing a proper business plan and going to the bank. I'm not saying you will always get the outstretched hand. In fact, some requests will be clicking in the most attractive brochure of potential investment. So how do you know when to say yes and when to say no, and how to say either? Saying no to friends and family is easy in a sense. Right from the day one, you make it a policy, and a very easily identifiable one, not to lend to friends and family. Rule number 97: you never do, so they lend not to us. Saying no to business acquaintances is also easy. Just ask them to refer everything to your accountant or business advisor. Say you never make a decision without their input, and you can't proceed until they have studied everything in close detail. That puts off the ones who are just arm around the shoulder trying it on. The other might be worth considering if they have genuine plans, in which case it might be worth having a look. And now, when to say yes or no? Say no if your gut instinct says to say no. They haven't done any work on their presentation. If they are lazy at ground zero, it strikes me they will be lazy right through, and you have no connection with them. Always say no to stranger, basically. To say yes is fine, to say no is fine. It's your money and you can do with it what you want. You have to let go of any guilt. This is business. Make sure you understand exactly what is being asked for. That's why calling an advisor is always a good idea. Keep a closed door policy to stop yourself being overwhelmed by requests. Make it hard for them to get to you. Avoid saying yes because you think it will make people happy. They are emotionally blackmailing you, and thus get themselves crossed off the list automatically and without guilt. Always be very clear when you are saying no. No, maybe yes. No maybes, or we will see, or I will have to sleep on that one. Say no and put everyone out of their misery, including you. Do not allow yourself to be bad geared. Be assertive. Stop them in their track. It's simple. I would rather you didn't ask me before they have even got started. It's your money, and you can do with it what you want. Rule number 101. Find ways to give people money without them feeling they are in your debt. I love this one. It's such a challenge to give money to people who haven't asked for it, need it, deserve it, will use it wisely or well. And the challenge is to get them to accept it without feeling indebted to you, beholden, grudging, guilty, whatever. This is one of those rules we all ought to practice no matter how much money we have. I reckon you get to start as soon as you become a parent and give your kids big money for cars and things. They are always saying, I will pay you back, and they want. But if you can give them money without all of that stuff being attached to it, and you are doing well. There are a variety of approaches to help you give your money away without them feeling guilty. Are you impressed? You might win the lottery one day. This is the good one, as it implies that there, but for a bit of luck, you go. And all they have got to do is be as lucky as you, and they will pay you back. Fortune change, and they go down as well as up. Basically, what you are saying is that you are flush at the moment, but that may not always be the case. And when your fortunes go down, they can help you out. I like my friends to be happy. How can I be happy when I see my friends in misery, trouble, debt, whatever? If you are not happy, then I can't be. So I will help myself to become happy by helping you to become happy. How can anyone reviews? Why shouldn't I help my friends? This is a subset of the one above, but still valuable and useful. Look, it's what friends are for. You have helped me out in the past, or helping me by, or have always over help anyway. So why can't I do the same for you? Help me out here. I have got a tax problem. Look, if I can offload some of this cash, I can alleviate my tax burden. So can you help me by taking some? I would be ever so grateful. The taxman will only get it after I'm dead. So can I give it to you now and see the pleasure it will bring you rather than you be grieving and moping after I've gone? Let me help with the housing upgrade by taking equity in the new house. They pay nothing until they snuff it, at which point your investment will probably show better appreciation than the interest rate it would have earned on deposit. And if it does not, so what? Profit was never the point anyway, but they can feel happy about it. I'm sure if you put your mind to it, there will be many more you can come up with. Hey, this one is fun. You get to help others, give lots away, share your wealth, and be creative all at the same time. If you can give them money without all that stuff being attached to it, you are doing well. Rule number 102. Do not overprotect your children from the valuable experience of poverty. Look, if you are about to ask your parent for a really big loan or gift, then you would better buy up every copy of this book you can and burn a lot of them, because you are not going to like what I have to say next. Parents, if you are reading this or listen to this audiobook, then don't give them that loan or gift. It is okay not to mollycoddle them, to make them learn the value of money, to make them treat money with respect right from the word go. And just because you have lots does not mean they are entitled to stand there with their hand out right from the day they get out of nappies. I'm the world's worst at this one, but I'm learning. There are various ways you can go from being utterly mean and not giving them a bean to being overly generous and giving them everything. And now I was going to talk about setting budget for children, setting up trust funds for them. A money allowance is always a good idea, as they have to live within their means. It teaches them to budget and to scream and have at the end of the month and or halfway through it. In most cases, when they first go off to uni is probably the best time to do this, as they are also learning a whole new batch of things about being grown up. Sex, drugs, staying out late, wrong short of friends, binge drinking. Learning to balance their own books at the same time is good for them. You can set aside lump sums for them as well, so they can buy a house, business, decent car. If you administer it, then they can blow it on a plasma TV or a 600 pound sterling designer handbag, but only a sensible thing that they have to explain to you in some detail. And of course, a trust fund for when you have shuffled off, or of course let them have such a fun when they are of an age sensible enough to enjoy it without it diverting from them from their education. Personally, I would give it to them after it would make any real difference to them. In effect, after they have started to earn their own money in a worthwhile amount, and for goodness sake, don't ever tell them they are getting a lump sum age 25 or whatever you decide. Nothing demotivates a child more than thinking they are coming into money. They will think they don't have to make any effort. Let them think they will always be poor and watch them go. And how do you set a good allowance figure? Only you can work it out for your child, and it obviously varies depending on age, but once they reach their teens, it's as well as to trace it out with them, a process sometimes of painful discussion. But make them argue every penny and justify it. It will make them value it when they got to spend it. A monthly allowance is always a good idea. Rule number 103: know how to choose charities or good causes. Once you have money, you get inundated with requests to give to charities. I'm not talking about the emotional blackmail ones we all get through the letterbox. This 3 penny could pay for good for entire family forever, and a rainforest in sight for all the blind people in the world, and all you have to do is send them back with whatever you can afford. Oh, the guilt when you spend those 3 pennies? Not. I'm talking about a big charitable donation, supporting a particular cause, and sponsoring a particular person. I have always had my doubt, and this is entirely subjective, entirely personal, about supporting a penguin or endangered fish or threatened albatross. How do you know which is yours? In the zoo, you can at least go and have a look at your own saved pet, but in the wild, it is so much more difficult. Anyway, here are a few tips for choosing a good charity, a good one for you. Decide what is important to you: the planet, saving whales, small children, the poor, cancer research. Work out what you want to do. Just give money, get involved, be an advisor, raise funds. I have always wanted to drive one of those inflatable for Greenpeace. I just think those boats are so cool. Check out charities you might think suitable in the interest and see if your ideals fit in with theirs. Check out the charities themselves: financial statement, account, brochure, campaign information, membership, mission statement. Trust your gut feeling. Decide what is important to you. Personally, I reject any charity that directly approach me, not because it makes me cross, but as a way of weeding out the ones I don't want to support. I have my own mission statement when it comes to charity giving, and not being approached is a part of that. I also like charities that set out to help directly instead of merely churning out aid, teaching villagers to fish and all of that. I also only support small charities and as I figure they need it more. And I will only support small charities that are doing things that seems attainable. I figure feeding the poor of the world require a bottomless pit. Not that it is not decent objective, but one I find too remote. But one that seeks to provide fresh water for a particular village I can relate to, or providing a breakfast for an inner city school kid. Yeah, I like that. Rule number 104: spend your own money because no one will spend it as wisely as you. What? Surely we all spend our own money? No, we don't. As we get richer, the need to have others spend it for us grows stronger. Believe me, it becomes a real risk to hand things over and lose value and wealth because of it. It is so easy to figure that because we are busy and someone offers, it is a good thing to hand over. I have noticed that the successful rich don't hand over anything. They carry on paying attention to detail all the time, and I feel that there might come a time to hand over as we grow too old to administer our own affair, but until then, give up nothing. Examples, of course. I have a friend who has considerable wealth and who is happy to hand over his spending to anyone around him who offers to do it for him. His gardener buys all his equipment, including mowers and chainsaws and the like, top of the range, I should say. This gardener is driving around on mowers and that are gathering equivalent of a Rolls Royce. My friend just signed the check and the gardener is laughing all the way to the tool shed. My friend also pays catheters to come in and organize meal every time he wants to entertain. Again, he signs the check and the catheter supply him with a complete dinner party. But I hear you say, so what? He can afford it. Yes, indeed he can, but he is also being ripped off repeatedly, not getting good value of money, slowly losing control over his own financial affair, losing the respect of his employer and higher service companies who see him as a bit of joke, too much money and not enough sense. He is the same when it comes to buying a new car. He just rings up the showroom and they deliver what he wants. Trouble is they frequently deliver what they have had sitting in their showroom for too long and can't save. Ask him about the pink Bentley he bought that no one else was going to touch in a million years. I tease him and asked him if the showroom had a big glass office where they could sit or see him come in. You have got to retain control of your own spending if you want to retain control over your finances and dignity. No pink Bentleys for you. Don't hand out credit card. Don't give anyone authority to sign personal check. Don't use a personal shopper. Set people proper budgets. Get them to submit proper proposals for spending. Check the small print. Check everything. Questions everything, stay on top, stay in control, and if you want my advice, no joint account ever. There is no need for it in this day and age. Rule number 105. Take responsibility before you take advice. This is a follow-on from the previous rule. If you are going to take advice, you need to know in advance what you expect to get, why you are asking, your exact position. If you don't know, how can they advise you of anything? What you want to happen next, what role the advisor will play in that, and what action you can take if their advice is wrong or out of date, harmful. What further advice you might need. And before you can do any of this, you need to take responsibility. We all start out, or at least I did, and so did most people I have ever talked to about it, somehow expecting that we would end up rich. Is an assumed process, sort of by osmosis. As you get older and add your years to your life, so in a theory you add riches. Then you wake up one day and it's just like that. For me, it was not. So I went into hyperdrive to change the situation. I'm not fabulously wealthy, but it took hard work and tremendous effort, and now you have made it. It is time to review, time to take responsibility, time to take stock. You need to know where you are, how you got there, what you are worth, both financially and spiritually, where you want to go next, and how you expect to get there. When you have answered this question, you are ready to take advice about your plan, and it doesn't have to be advice of the paid kind and expert kind, the man in a sweet kind, the all serious and heavy kind. Sometimes advice can come from unlikely a source of unlikely people. Learn to listen, learn to take in what is not being said, learn to be happy, and the wealthier we become, the easier it appears to be hand over our affairs, the financial ones, to people we think we have our best interests at heart and whose we assume know what they are doing or are on top of the latest development in law. My observation is that A. They are not. B. The true wealthy ones don't hand over anything unless they are really, really sure of their advisors, and that's my advice. Sometimes advice cannot come from unlikely sources and unlikely people. Rule number 106. Once you have got it, don't flaunt it. Wealthy is lovely. Having money is a great, getting rich a worthwhile and enjoyable activity. Buying the pink Bentley is just a plain gross, as is a lot of other things that shot novel, richy, over the top, flaunting bling, so tacky that listen know how to handle wealth by all means, but to handle it well. I read a nice story the other day of a young lad who got to stay in a millionaire's mansion, a relative I assume. And when he went to bed, he felt like the light on. The millionaire pooped his head round to the door and told him it was wasting money and he should turn it off. He even threatened him with a $1 fine, but instead of he tossed him a $1 coin and turned the light out himself. The kid never forgot the incident and is still turning light off when he goes to the bed and leave a room to this day, and he still doesn't know why the reverse psychology work. As he says, he went from a possible $1 fine to a big windfall. It was 1953 when a dollar was a lot. Be frugal, be careful with your money, don't flaunt it, and as you know, we belong to an exclusive club. Could you please observe a few rules? No flashcards, no castle, ranches, or ranch-style house. This is not Dallas, you know. No bling, no glitz or showing off, no impulse spending, no wild animal aspect, no buying island, no private jets, no flying all your relative to a foreign country or for a party. No flying a relative to a foreign country for your latest droppy wedding. No huge diamond or big jewelry or of any sort. It will only attract the robbers and thieves. Be a discreet, tasteful, refined culture. Less is more. More is tacky, quiet, sort of rich person, someone we can all look up to, someone who will inspire and not cultivate ridicule. They do laugh at those leopard skin trousers, I'm afraid. Someone who will set a good example to the young, the impressionable, the not so well off. We all seen those who come into money too suddenly and flaunt the fact that they have loads of wielding. God, how tacky. I know we shouldn't sit in the judgment on others, but I do find my toes curl at no, I can't say in case you have got one. Flaunting it creates envy, jealousy different from envy, criticism, snobbery, condemnation, and censure, and all quite rightly direction. On the other hand, encourages respect, admiration, and emulation. Don't ever mention how much you have got, what are you worth, or how much you earn. Ever. If you tell people, half will despise you for not having more, and the other half reason you for having so much. Only reveal such information to your bank manager, and even then, they should have to track the info from you. Don't ever mention how much you have got, what you are worth, or how much you earned. Rule number 107. What's next? Pack with the devil. We are near the end of the rules, and when I guess we can have some fun. Creating wealth is a varied and different an adventure for each of us as anything else. We can work for it, win the lottery or a poker game. Mind you, it would have to be a pretty big one. Inherited, steal it. Put my name forward at once, please, somebody. Or what about the temptation prize, which gets you $1.6 million, or find it in the street. Lots of examples on the internet of people finding huge wads of cash. Marry into it, you name it. And of course, if you really desperate, there is an old pact with the devil, but beware of gotcha clauses. The Chinese believe via feng shui that if you leave your low sit up, your money will get flushed away. I wonder if this is a modern invention because I have no evidence of flushing loose in China when Feng Shui was being established in the Taoist era. Then, there are affirmations you write down the wealth you want and pin it up so you can say it every day and chant it out hundreds of times. My word. Then there is a cosmic ordering service. You tell the great cosmic bank how much it owes you and it repays you immediately. There has got to be a catch there somewhere, knowing bank, and they are all the same, arrogant. Then there is a crystal. You wear one or sleep with it, carry it around. Certain crystal resonate with the cosmic bank. And it's sort of a rock check, I guess. Dowsing, you follow hazel roads, which twitch when you are above buried treasure or a seam of gold or one of those ring pull things off the top of a beer can. Bit like a metal detector but doesn't need batteries. I suppose you could buy a race horse, but it seems so very risky to me. Laying down fine wines could work, but I couldn't resist the temptation, I think. I'm not scoffing at any of this method. However, you intend gaining prosperity, you should get it on with believe it or not. Believe in it, follow it, give 100% to it, and not listen to others, including me, especially me. Good luck. There's the old pact with the devil, but oh, beware of the gotcha clauses. The rules of other people's wealth. As you have read nearly all this book or listened this audiobook, I think it's safe to assume that money is something you want to have more of. All well and good, but time for a note of caution. If money is important to you, your attitude to other people's money will have a big impact on your overall satisfaction with life, especially when they choose to do things with money that directly affect you. Whether it's your children's money, your parents' money, your friends' money, you need to make yourself pretty immune to other people's decisions in order to avoid a great deal of heartache, upset, and even harm. So the rules that follow are designed to help you handle your attitude to other people's wealth while you are building up your own. You don't want to become wrecked and connected with jealousy, frustration, stress, and misery while you watch other people make stupid mistakes with the money they have and you covet. No, you want to be able to separate your own fortunes from those of everyone around you so that you don't take their financial decision personally or get hung up on how they spend their money. Then you can simply resolve to do the right thing when it comes to your own wealth, and other people's decision will be nothing to do with you. It is easier said than done, but I hope the rules that follow will help you. Rule number one, do not judge. I remember meeting a friend of a friend once who I knew was seriously rich. We were invited to a party at his house, and you could see from the minute you turned off the road how wealthy he was before you even caught sight of the house. As a matter of fact, he was titled as well as rich, minor aristocracy, very fancy. I will admit that the invented snob in me had already decided I wouldn't much like him. Out of touch, arrogant, privileged, yes, I would prejudge him utterly before we ever actually met. Of course, when I was introduced to him, he turned out to be a lovely chap, down-to-earth, empathetic, amusing, a great listener. I know it's a cliché, but it's still so easy to walk into the trap of judging people by their money. I was the one being predictable, whereas he was just being himself. That particular man was born into money and privilege. Most of us have a slightly different view of people who have come from a more ordinary background and acquire more money later in life. There are lots of terms for them, all of which carry slightly pejorative overtones. Self-made, nouveau rich, new money. Again, we make judgments about these people before we even know them. There are plenty of cliches here too. More money than sense, no taste, full of themselves. And again, the vast majority of these people don't fit this description at all. If we make assumptions about people because of the money they have, earned, inherited, or otherwise acquired, it's us who deserve to be harshly judged. We are the ones behaving predictably. Lots of wealthy people give away stock of money to good causes. Not all of them will shout about it off, so you might not even know. Many of them are completely grounded. People who do understand what life is like for the rest of us. Most of them are as sensible with their wealth as you or I would like to be in their position. I don't assume that everyone I meet who has little or no money is automatically bound to be a good person. So why should I assume that someone with lots of money is a bad person? If lack of money has no influence on people's basic nature, why should having money change them? Of course, money changes a few people for the worse, but then fame or kids or promotion or alcohol can do that too. Most people are just themselves, whether they happen to have loads or nothing at all. So just see them for who they are and not for what they have. If we make assumptions about people because of the money they have, it's just us who deserve to be harshly judged. Rule number 2, don't envy it. It's hard to look at the wealthy people in the public eye and not wish you had that what they have. Mind you, you don't necessarily know what else they have that goes with the money. They may have all kind of personal problem or hidden angst you wouldn't want, not to mention the direct effect of money, such as being chased around interminably by paparazzi or being obliged to live in the 3 houses at once, which I always think must be horrible. Yes, it's tough. It's tough to watch and wish. But that's nothing to how tough it is when the person with all the money is not some distant celebrity but your best friend, your neighbor, your colleague, your sister, and now that gets really tough to cope with. In effect, the closer they are, the harder it is. If the couple next door don't seem to do much more yet, have 3 overseas holidays a year, while you are working all hours and can't justify a week's cakeness, it can be pretty hard to bear. I knew someone who cut off all contact with her best friend, much as she loved her, because she simply couldn't cope with her own jealousy as her friend grew slowly wealthier over the years, while her own fortunes dwindled. It was very sad. She ended up no wealthier, and now she would give up her best friend as well. But that's not all. The best friend went on to suffer a terrible personal tragedy, which she would gladly have given all her money to avoid, which is my main point. You see, if you don't have money, you can imagine it's the answer to everything, you know? If only I had 6-figure annual income, everything would be perfect, but it is not, you see? Which means that while you are busy envying wealthy people for their money, they are busy envying other people, maybe even you, for their marriage, their wealth, their health, or their sporting accomplishment, or the fact that their job is so rewarding. Listen, we can all find things to envy in others. However, poor or wealthy we are, or we can be grateful for everything we have and build on it instead of hanking after what other people have got. Rule number 3, other people's money belongs to them. When you read in your daily newspaper that some celebrity has spent a fortune on yet another mansion, or invested part of their wealth in an exciting new project, or given away millions to charity, the odds are that you think it's up to them if they want to be stupid, generous, or take a risk. You shrug and move on to the next story, or maybe turn to the financial pages to find some ideas for making your own fortune. It's harder when it's your parent tough, isn't it? Or your friend, sibling, work, college, neighbor. Suppose your brother decides to spend all of his savings on buying a holiday home, or your best friend wants to plunge all their money into some business idea you think will crash, or your parent wants to make a big donation to charity that's special to them, or your college wants to spend thousands on cosmetic surgery that you don't think they even need. Are you still going to shrug and turn the page? Sometimes it's not easy. For a start, you need to remember a key rule: never give advice unless it is asked for. That can be difficult enough. After all, you might be really concerned that some people are making a terrible mistake, but you might be wrong. Maybe if your brother never uses his holiday home, he will still be able to sell it at a profit. Perhaps your college will gain huge confidence from her surgery, even if you can't see why. Maybe your reservations are not about making bad and financial decisions. Perhaps you just think there are irresponsible things to do with money. Actually, the reason is irrelevant. It doesn't matter what you think. People are allowed to be irresponsible with their money. If they want to, it's theirs. Maybe they don't approve of some of your choices, but you don't want to tell you because it's none of their business. You may think they are privileged with their money, while they might think that you are a Scrooge who has no idea how to enjoy what you have because you are too busy making more of it. But they don't say so, I hope. So there are two things here. The first, and I hope the easiest, is about keeping your mouth shut unless you are asked for an opinion. If you are asked, you can say what you think, but don't be fooled into supposing that gives you the right to put pressure on people to accept your advice. They may listen and then disregard it, and that's the prerogative. The second thing is about what you actually think privately. It's not enough just to keep quiet. You also need to understand properly that it's none of your business what other people do with their money. You might think, well, I wouldn't have done that, which is fine, but don't judge or get emotionally involved. Why? Partly because you wouldn't want other people judging you, and partly because the sooner you stop reading over stuff that's nothing to do with you, the sooner you can focus on your own life, and that's got to be good, and that's got to be good. People are allowed to be irresponsible with their money if they want to. Rule number 4, they can give it all away if they like. Following on from the last rule, not only can other people be irresponsible with their money, they can get rid of the lot of if they want to. They can give it away, gamble it, burn it, spend it on sweets. They can do as they please. Yes, even your parents. What? Your money? Your parents can just be allowed to give away your inheritance? Well, no, actually, that would be impossible because it is not your inheritance until they have gone. If they are still here capable of spending it, it's not your inheritance. It's their money, just like your money is yours. I understand that this can be very tough, especially if you are in a financial black hole and the only way out of pit that you can see is the money you are expecting from your parent when they go, and when other people's parents are being careful with their money so they can pass it on, it's doubly frustrating if your parents choose to spend all theirs, which is precisely why you have to understand the crabs to believe in your heart and not just your head, and that's their right to spend it. Otherwise, watching them free their money away or even donate it all to good cause can sour your relationship with your parent and burn you up with anger. But look, just because you had your eye on the money doesn't make it yours. Why should they have to stop enjoying themselves just to save up for you, especially if you are still able to earn after they have retired? And at what age do you think your money should be stopped yours and become your children's? When should you stop being allowed to do anything fun or interesting? If it costs money, so that your wealth can be protected for someone else. If you don't expect the principle to apply to you in a due course, you certainly cannot apply it to your parent. Once they have gone, no amount of money will bring them back. So let them enjoy it while they still can, even if, especially if you have the kind of parent who mess you about emotionally, who tell you they are leaving you everything and then charge their months and spend it. Even if they led you to believe it was your money, even so, don't listen to them. It's their money, all theirs, just for them, exclusively, until the day they die. If after that you find there is something left for you, just be grateful. They can give it away, gamble it, burn it, spend it on sweets. Rule 5A. Once they have gone, you can ask questions. If you can master rule number 4, it might make this one a little bit easier. It's very common for parents to die and not split their money equally between their children and or grandchildren. And when it happens, they are not there to give you an explanation, so you probably assume that they never love you as much as your brother or sister, the other side of the family, or something of the kind. Look, there are lots of reasons why parents might love their children equally, but not split the money equally. Probably the most common of these are that, in their eyes, one of the children needs money much more. One of the children has been given much more already. One of the children has done far more for them. Of course, there might be some other reason, but the thing is that parents often don't discuss this thing in advance. Maybe they don't want to start a family argument, or maybe they are worried they will put under pressure to change their will. For whatever reason, you might not get a chance to ask what's going on. The way to deal with this starts with rule number 4. You have to fully embrace the fact that it's their money and that they can do as they please with it. Then recognize that they may not have thought as you do. So how did they think? What would have been their reasoning? Unless you come from a highly dysfunctional family, the answer will almost always be that it seems right and logical to them. Now you have to find their logic. Get your head around their way of thinking so that you can understand how your parent could do this without it being a reflection on their love for you. Perhaps they were short-sighted in not seeing how you would feel, but they were not thinking of you in isolation. They were trying to find what seems to them a fair balance between all their children. This obviously does not help you financially, but frankly, the emotional fallout of this kind of thing can be far worse than financial hardship. After all, you haven't actually lost money, you have simply not gained money that you probably know. Deep down, you shouldn't really have to let yourself rely on, and what matters is that you are not left resenting your parent instead of cherishing the memory of them. It won't help to be bitter. It may take time, and you may need to talk to other people to help you through it, but you need to reach a point where you understand your parents' motive, even if you don't agree with them. Look at your sibling from your parent in perspective and not your own, and in time you will find you can accept the decision without rancor. There are lots of reasons why parents might love their children equally, but not split the money equally. Rule number 5B. Once they have gone, you cannot ask questions. Okay, here's the opposite situation, and this one happened lots too. You have struggled with money for years, with a family to support, while your sister has a high-paid job and no kids. And what do your parents do? They split the money equally. Even though your sister barely needs her share and your half still leave you with pretty shaky finances. Or how about this? Your parents were unwell for years and you gave up weekend and even took holiday entitlement to look after them, take them to hospital appointment, and mow the lawn for them, help them with their shopping, cleaning account, and all the rest. Meanwhile, your brother was living on the other side of the world and visited once every couple of years and maybe phone occasionally. And after all that, when the second parent finally dies, you find they have left your behalf of their everything each. And yes, he got as much as you. After all you have done, how could they? But you didn't do it in expectation of a reward, did you? You did it because you loved them and you wanted to do it. I know that because you are a real player. If you would be the kind of person to do it simply for the payoff at the end, I'm not sure you would have to serve it anyway. Here is what you have to understand. For many people, the way they divide up their assets in their will has very little to do with the money itself. It's about what it symbolizes, and their will is the last chance for them to show their children how much they mean to them. If they love them both all equally, they feel they have to split their will equally. They worry about the scenario we look at in the Rule 5A and the one we are coming to in the Rule 6. If they love you the same, they They can't see any option but to show it in the way they divide up their estates. And besides, you have to remember that your parents don't see your brother or sister from the sibling perspective. They are loving, forgiving parent. Perhaps in their eyes, it was your choice to give up your career to have a family with your sister, stay childless, and focus on her career. Or in the other example, they accepted your brother's decision to move abroad. It was what he wanted for a better life for his family, and however much they missed him, they broke you both up to have a free will to make your own choices, and they won't punish either of you for that. What matters most of all here is that you don't reason your sibling for the choices that your parent made. Think that one through, and you will see how illogical it is. Not only illogical, but also deeply divisive. And that certainly is not what divided all equally parent want. Rule number 6. Blood comes before money. I said I would mention very dysfunctional families. Sadly, if your parents don't care about the emotional wreckage they leave when they die, and may even design their will to create heart or dissension, if this applies to you, you will know because they will have been doing it for long years before they finally go. They may well have promised the same thing to you and your sibling, or tried to manipulate you with threats about what you will or won't get in their will. At least if this is the case, you probably had an expectation anyway, but you may have had hopes that are dashed when it comes to you. Mind you, there are plenty of others, like obviously dysfunctional parents, who make disputive decisions about who to leave everything to. I used to know a man whose father was furious with him for saving his head. So furious, in fact, that in a fit of pique, the father cut his son out of his will, and then the father died suddenly and unexpectedly before he could calm down and retain. I have one friend with 5 siblings who came from a very traditional family. His mother died first, and when his dad died, he left absolutely everything to my friend. Why? Because it was the eldest son, and as far as his dad was concerned, the eldest son should inherit everything. And now in some culture that may still be true, but in London about 20 years ago, and it certainly was not the norm. Part of the problem here, obviously, is that you don't end up inheriting what you would hope to, but that's not generally the biggest issue. The real difficulty is what happened to your relationship with your brother or sister when one or other of you feels that your siblings are benefiting at your expense. We touched on this in the last rule, and the first thing to grasp is that your sibling didn't ask for this any more than you did. If your parents will, creates bad feeling within families, you are all victim. Whether your parent intended or simply didn't think things through, everyone is in a difficult position. The sibling that comes off best generally feels guilty and uncomfortable and under pressure to give away money that their parents expressly wanted them to have. The sibling that misses out on their money may feel they are the only loser, but that's not true. And it's rarely that cut and dried, and the sibling with the lion's share of the inheritance may feel that they need it more or deserve it more or have had less until now. You may disagree, but the point is that it's often a matter of opinion. Clearly, your parent thought, for whatever reason, the one sibling should have most. If your relationship with your brother or sister was previously even half decent, saving that relationship is far more important than the money, and potentially far more valuable. Sooner or later, most of us hit bad times, and there are countless circumstances where money does not help you judge, but the support of family will be worth the world to you. Remember that. Rule number 7, your children owe you nothing. Right, that's enough about your parents' money. Now, what about your children's cash? Suppose you have struggled all your life and they have done really well for themselves. In fact, the reason you have struggled is because you were supporting them, and their success is in a large part down to the sacrifices you made to give them the best start you could. And now they are in a position to make your life a little bit easier, and that's not too much to ask, is it? They could give you a bit of money or help towards the bill, or treat you to a nice holiday after all you have done for them. I hope you know pretty much what I'm going to say. No, I repeat, that's a big fat no. Don't you dare ask your children for money, and while we are at it, don't even imply that they should consider giving you some. If you think back all those years, it was your choice that brought them into the world, and they never signed any kind of agreement. You wanted to give them a good start, create a supportive home, Make sure their childhood was comfortable. These were all your choices. I'm certainly not suggesting they were bad choices. On the contrary, I congratulate you on giving your child the confidence and drive to do so well for themselves. But your reward is seeing your beloved child so successful. I don't believe that all the time you were kissing their grades needs to be better and helping with their homework, or listening to them sob about broken friendship, or cooking their meals, or picking up after them, that you were mentally counting off the value of it, all in terms what you could claim back from them when they were old enough to earn a living. Listen, here is how it works. Your parents did all the stuff for you. You own them nothing. Then you put in all the graft for your kids. They do it for their kids. So on down to the generation. We all get and we all give, but we don't give back up the generation. We pass it on down. Your child's money is their own, and if you have set a good example and they choose to have the kids, they will learn how to pass it on, and that's your reward. Of course, if you have done a good job of instilling the best value in your children, and with a bit of luck on your side, they may give you as much financial support as you hope for and more. This is how I hope you support your own parents in whatever way you can. One thing I can tell you, thought from frequent observation, and the more you ask for, the less you're really likely to get, and your children will resent you, whereas if you don't ask, anything they give you will be given willingly and with love. Rule number 8, don't make money taboo. Conversation about money are tricky. I don't really know why this should be, but it's true, at least in most cultures. Absolutely, we find it difficult to talk about money even with our nearest and dearest. And now, most of the time, this really doesn't matter. We have all learned to find ways to achieve most of what we need without having to have those embarrassing, sordid, cringery, uncomfortable conversation. Okay, that's fine, but you have got to recognize when it becomes a problem. And I'm especially thinking about your parents as they get older. If they have any kind of money worries, you need to be able to support them, and you can't do that if neither they nor you feel you can even raise the subject. Think about it. Once they are no longer earning, they have no idea how long their money will need to last. To put it bluntly, they don't know how long they have got before they die. So they have to look after the money carefully. That includes deciding if and when to sell their house if they own it, whether to go into a care home, or what they can afford, when to start drowning any personal pension they may have, and so on. Can they afford to go on holiday? They can indeed afford to turn on the heating next winter. These decisions are really tough because they don't have all the information they need. How long they have to make the money last, so it's impossible to make a clear choice. Mostly they are operating on guesswork. Think how worrying that must be, and you can help that only if you know what's going on, whether the how you can offer is in the form of money or advice or assurance that you would never let them end up on the streets. You are their best source of help. They may not be up to date with all the financial options. They may not be good at any stuff anyway. They may even be a bit confused. I have a friend whose father come from a pre-war generation, which means that you didn't talk about personal stuff, feeling, religion, wars, money. Her father was a bright man who, due to circumstances, was forced to leave school early and never fulfilled his intellectual potential. Instead, he had a succession of low-paid jobs and a period of unemployment. He spent all of his time worrying deeply about money and being very careful, as it's known. He and his wife had a very few luxuries and went for a budget option in pretty much everything. When he died at a respectably old age, my friend was staggered to discover that he had been saving an excessively high proportion of his income for many years. My friend couldn't help but think about how much easier life would have been for her parent if her father had not been saving to this extent during years of very low income. Wouldn't it have been worth risking a tricky conversation to review their finances with them and encourage them to enjoy a little more of their hard-earned income? In fact, it's only broaching the subject that's uncomfortable. The worst that can happen is that they say, "No thanks, we are fine," in which case you accept that and move on. Chances are that they will appreciate your concern, and once you are on the way, it will be fine, and they may deeply relieved to be able to talk it through with you. So when the time comes, don't deter, just do it. Rule number 9, if they give it to you, it's yours. I think very pretty much established by now that other people's money belongs entirely to them, to do it as they please. So it follows that you can do as you like with your own money, but where did your money come from? Does that make a difference? It shouldn't, but for some people it does. If you have earned it through your own craft, you are probably fairly comfortable with making your own decision about what to do with it. But what if it was given to you by someone else? I have known people tie themselves in knots worrying about whether it's okay to do this, or that with money given to them by family or friends or inheritance from someone who is not even alive any longer to see how they spend it. Let's be clear. If someone gives you money, it not only becomes yours legally, but also morally, emotionally, psychologically, and that's what a gift is. If someone gives you a birthday present of, let's say, a framed painting, do you feel obligated to consider which wall they would hang it on? If they gave you a bottle of perfume or aftershave, would you check with them before using it? No, of course not. And money is just the game. It's the same. It's a different matter if you have been lent the money or given it for a specific purpose. If your parents say, we would like to give you some money to go on holiday, you would either use it to go on holiday or you discuss with them whether it would be okay to use it for something else. If your friend lends you money to set up a business, you don't go out and buy a sport car instead, but I'm talking about giving of money, freely given to be yours. Some very rulers' parents give their children money as a means of control. They prefer it as a gift and then make remarks later about, if I would known you were going to waste it on this, blah 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 blah. Or is that what you have done with our money? They think that because the money came from them, they have a right to oversee what you do with it, and well, they don't. Not if there were no condition attached at the time they gave it to you. So don't let them guilt trip you. You can just whether to take the money, knowing what they will say, and whether your choice will influence future gift. But that is a pragmatic decision with no room for guilt. So no matter how other people's money becomes your money, once it is your hands, wallet, bank account, it's yours. And you are free to do as you please with it. Spend it or save it. But either way, enjoy it. If someone gives you money, it not only becomes yours legally, but also morally, emotionally, psychologically. Had enough yet? Hey, it's only wealth, you know. If you are smart, you will want to learn how the most successful people behave at whatever it is. Life, money, work, relationship, kids likely have done the hard work for you. The years of observing, distilling, saving, and summarizing what really makes a difference into handy little rules. I have always been anxious not to stretch the rules principle too far, but following huge demand from reader, I have tackled those big important areas that affect us all. So in the pages that follow, you will find one rule tester of each of the other rules books: rules of life, rules of work, rules of management, rules of parenting, rules of love, and see what you think. And if you like them, there are plenty more in each of these books. From the rules of life, you will get older, but not necessarily wiser. There is an assumption that as we get older, we will get wiser. Not true, I'm afraid. The rule is we carry on being just as daft, still making plenty of mistakes. It's just that we make new ones, different ones. We do learn from experience and may not make the same mistake again, but there is a whole new pickle jar of fresh ones just lying in wait for us to trip up and fall into. The secret is to accept this and not to beat yourself up when you do make new ones. The rule really is be kind to yourself when you do muck things up before giving and accepting that it's all part of that growing older but no wiser routine. Looking back, we can always see the mistake we made, but we fail to see the ones looming up. Wisdom is not about making not mistake, but about learning to escape afterward with our dignity and sanity intact. When we are young, aging seems to be something that happens to old people, but it does happen to us all, and we have no choice but to embrace it and roll with it, whatever we do and whoever we are. The fact is we are going to get older, and this aging process that seems to speed up as we get older. You can look at this way. The older you get, the more areas you have covered to make mistakes in. There will always be new areas of experience where we have no guidelines and where we handle things badly, overreact, get it wrong, and the more flexible we are, the more adventurous, the more life embracing, then the more new and venues there will be to explore and make mistakes in. Of course, as long as we look back and see where we went wrong and resolve not to repeat such a mistake, there is little else we need to do. Remember that any rule that apply to you also apply to everyone else around you. They are all getting older too, and not any wiser. Particularly, once you accept this, you will be more forgiving and kinder toward yourself and others. Wisdom is not about not making mistakes, but about learning to escape afterwards with our dignity and sanity intact. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.